Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the HTAi Asia Policy Forum virtual panel discussion on internships. My name is Ryan from HTAP, and I am your MC for today's event. And I'm thrilled to be hosting this engaging and informative discussion on behalf of HTAi Asia Policy Forum and HTAsiaLink. So if you are interested in health technology assessment or simply in internships, then you are in the right place. This event is open to anyone interested in advancing their career in HTA or health technology assessment, or just learning more about the benefits of internships. Our esteemed panelists will share their personal experiences with internships, discussing the skills they gained and how it helped them progress in their careers. And this is a fantastic opportunity to gain valuable insights and network with industry professionals. We have an exciting lineup of speakers for you today who will share their experiences and their expertise on internships. And our agenda for today's event is the following. We have Dr. Izuna to provide opening remarks and the introduction to by a brief introduction by the chair of HTAi's Asia Policy Forum and our experience sharing from two interns. Then we also have the host internship program to present on how it initiates and manages internships, as well as the objectives of the program. And he's going to be sharing with us some of the best practices for managing interns. And finally, we'll be hearing from the voice of industry interns, how internships can shape a graduate's career journey. Towards the end of the session, we will give you time as the audience to ask some questions and to network with our speakers. And we encourage you to take this time to ask any questions you may have, or also feel free to leave any comments or questions in the chat box below. We'll be ready to read them for you. Please keep yourself muted during the session. Unless you have any questions towards the end, then you may mute yourself. So let's make this interactive discussion and engage with our panelists. So once again, thank you for being here. We are excited to have you all here with us today, and we hope that you find this discussion interesting, informative, and engaging. On behalf of the HTAi Asia Policy Forum virtual panel discussion on internships, we welcome you. And with that, I will turn this over to Dr. Izuna to deliver the opening remarks and get the panel discussion started. Over to Dr. Izuna.
Thank you, Ryan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome, everyone, to this HTAi Asia Policy Forum virtual panel discussion on internship. I'm Izuna Ghazali. I'm the head of Malaysian Health Technology Assessment Section MAHTAS and also the president of HTAsiaLink. My special welcome to our esteemed speakers, Professor Guy John Madden, the chair of HTAi Asia Policy Forum, Ms. Dana Bayani, former intern at HTAP and currently at National University of Singapore, Mr. Ying Li Chen, Tommy, senior HTA researcher from the Center for Drug Evaluation, Taiwan, Ms. Pei-Ming Wang from China National Health Development Research Center, Julie Van Bevel from Merck & Co, and Vanessa Xavier from Sanofi, and we have Mr. William Patton, an intern at the industry. So welcome, everyone. This is the first HTAi Asia Policy Forum virtual panel discussion, which is a follow-through of HTAi Asia Policy Forum in 2022 on HTA capacity building in Asia. Health technology assessment as defined as a multidisciplinary process that uses explicit methods to determine the value of health technology at different points in its life cycle. So the purpose of HTA is to inform decision-making in order to promote an equitable, efficient, and a high-quality healthcare system. Health technology assessment plays an important role in strategically evaluating the value of health technologies for benefits package in order to achieve and maintain universal health coverage. As we know, countries in Asia has different socio-economic status, very diverse. While the economies of most Asian countries can be characterized as developing, there is enormous variation among the countries. We have the developed countries as well as the low-income countries in this region. The HTA capacity also varies in countries in Asia. So the first country maybe to establish HTA in Asia is Malaysia in 1995. A few countries have formal HTA program. In Singapore, started around 1995 as well, and further strengthened with the establishment of Agency for Care Effectiveness in 2015, South Korea in 2006, Thailand in 2007, Taiwan 2008, and Vietnam 2013, Indonesia, followed by Indonesia in 2014, Japan 2016, and India in 2017. There are a few other countries who do have informal HTA activities as well. The mandate and remits of HTA agencies differs. Many HTA agencies initially focus on pharmaceuticals assessment. However, few other agencies have expanded their scope to include medical technologies as well as public health interventions as well. So in order to conduct a good HTA, health technology assessment, a set of skills is needed, which include epidemiology, biostatistics, health economics, public health, and also health policy, among others. The main values being assessed in HTA are the effectiveness, safety, and cost effectiveness of a health technology. However, there are other domains that are also being assessed, which may include organizational, social, ethical, legal, and also environmental aspects that need further skills and expertise. With the rapid involvement and complexity of newer health technologies such as digital health technologies and personalized medicine, which includes advanced therapy medicinal products or ATMP, the clinical trial becoming more complex, and so does the assessment, which needs further capacity for the HTA agencies. As HTA outcome impacted patients and also wider community, relevant stakeholders' involvement, including patients and public, is critical. Agencies may also learn from each other in order to strengthen the stakeholder involvements in their HTA process or program. Other than the technical capacity in ensuring HTA is optimally used, institutional capacity in HTA is crucial, especially for the newer agencies or countries who are going to establish their HTA program. Having said that, capacity building in HTA is a continuous process and very critical. Internship or attachment is one of the ways used by HTA agencies to develop their capacity in many aspects. An HTA agency may provide an opportunity for attachment or send their staff for attachment or internship to other agencies, universities, industries, or international organizations to build their capacity further. Today, we are going to listen from HTA agencies that host the intern and also experience sharing from those who have gone through the internship and also perspectives from the industries as well. Okay. And hopefully this session will highlight the advantages, issues, and also challenges of undergoing or hosting internship and creates more opportunity and interest for internship among those who are interested in HTA as well as the HTA agencies and other related bodies. We encourage all the participants to participate actively using chat function in this Zoom, in this virtual meeting. And finally, I would like to thank all the participants and panelists for attending and participating in this HTAi Asia Policy Forum virtual discussion on internship. And thank you and congratulations to HTAi and also HTAsiaLink Secretariat for organizing this panel session. With that, I thank you. Okay. For the next session, I would like to invite Professor Guy John Madden, a professor in hepatobiliary in University of Adelaide, and also the HTAi Asia Policy Forum Chair to give a brief introduction. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Azuna. I will be very brief. I apologize for the technology. I'm not, apparently I have two cameras on, but I only have one in front of me. So I don't know what I've done, but I think you're going to get a delayed image of me, but that's probably not a bad thing. On the behalf of HTAi, I'd really like to welcome you all here, and we have 45 participants already, which is great, this initiative has come out of the Asia Policy Forum we held in Singapore, where we looked at capacity building. And one of the things that we felt was a major issue, this is the group at the meeting thought, was offering the opportunity to do internships and maybe not big ones where you spent years away, but where you did short, sharp experiences in the region working with very competent and successful agencies. And since then, we've had a look at some of the funding that's available, and there are scholarships or small support monies within HTAi, which we will be and have been circulating to individuals. And it may be that if we understand better the value of these, we might be able to put in a more detailed claim in the future. At the moment, there is nothing other than those short-term scholarships available, but something may open up, and we'll certainly be pushing for it going forward. So on that note, I will just sit back and take all this in today, but welcome. And we hope that many of you will be joining us in Taiwan in November, when we'll probably reflect back on this and go forward with our meeting then. And there may well be many of you who are coming down to Adelaide at the end of next month for the HTAi meeting, which at this stage is looking exceptional. And I really would love to see people coming, and I think they will get a tremendous value from the experience. So Azuna, I hand back to you to run the meeting.
Thank you, Guy, for the brief introduction and background of this capacity building and internship. So our next speaker is Dana Bayani. Unfortunately, Dana cannot be with us today. However, we have a recorded presentation by Dana. So Dana is a PhD candidate at the Saw Swee Hock School of Public Health, National University of Singapore. Her thesis focuses on exploring methods to manage uncertainty in oncology drug evaluations and financing. And before she moved to Singapore, she led the HTAi unit in the Philippines Department of Health, which produces evidence to inform coverage decisions of drugs, national health insurance, benefit package, and program. She is trained in health economics with degrees from the London School of Economics and Political Science and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. So let us hear from Dana.
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak at this panel. And I'm very sorry I couldn't be there at the live session, but I'm very happy to share my experience as an intern at HTAi through this recorded session. My name is Dana. I'm currently with the School of Public Health at the National University of Singapore. So for my presentation, I'll be going through why I chose to do the internship. And then talk about my experience, the lessons I've learned, and the outputs from that program, and just a few messages for future interns and suggestions for the host organization. So just a bit of context and background about myself. I received formal training in health economics through an MSc in the UK in 2017. And right after I graduated, I joined the Department of Health in the Philippines, which is my home country, to set up a research unit in support of the Formulary Council and PhilHealth, which is our social health insurance agency. So our research unit was supposed to help develop and raise evidence in support of listing of new drugs in the national formulary, as well as expansion of benefit packages for PhilHealth. And I think one of the main challenges we faced at that time was that we didn't have enough supervisors who could really review our work and provide feedback for us to improve. We had bosses in the Department of Health, but they really didn't have the expertise we needed in order for us to do really robust and rigorous studies that could support the decisions of these two important bodies. So at the time, I saw this advertisement below. It was about HTAip's new international internship program, and I really resonated with the write-up of this post. So I went ahead and submitted an application. It was just a paper application first, and then I went through the panel interview process. And then fortunately, I got accepted to be one of the interns as part of this program. And this was a few months after I joined the Department of Health, so it was already in 2018. So this is the announcement about the candidates. I think there were maybe 5 of us for this batch of funding. So during my time at HTAp, I mean, there was a lot of back and forth at the start, so I could really plan ahead because I would be away for a few months, and I just needed to make sure that the work was sorted out in the department in our unit. And then finally, I had a chance to visit and stay in Thailand from June, like mid-June until end of August in 2018. And when I first arrived there, I was with two other interns, and we were asked to develop a proposal, which is something that we had already indicated in our application. And this is what we all worked on during our time there, and we had different lengths and durations of internship. But at that time, I worked on a study which was a current priority for evaluation in the Philippines. It was on dialysis coverage policies. And I think in general, the design of the internship program that I participated in at HTAp was really more of demand-based support and guidance. So they really tailored the design of the internship depending on the needs of the intern, what the learning objectives are, what are their goals. So for me, it was, to conduct this study and be able to produce something that could potentially be used for decision making back home. And what I also really appreciated was that there was a mix of structured and unstructured sessions. So there would be some lectures, some of the staff at HTAp would share with us, would have like sessions with us on, say, survival analysis. And then to complement that, we would also have, informal or less structured sessions with some of the senior researchers at HTAp where we could get feedback on our work that's tailored really to what we need for us to complete it. So this is a photo of the entrance at the Ministry of Health and the entrance to the HTAp office. So what's a day in the life like of a HTAp intern? So starting from the left, this is a photo from the I think it was a welcome dinner that they hosted for us interns. And I think one of the key highlights is that being in HTAp, working with the international unit team, you get to work with a very diverse group, very passionate individuals, very bright, very energetic team of researchers and advocates. And there's really a lot of collaboration that can be done throughout the team, and it's always very good, very bright energy in the office, which I really liked. And then the second photo is, I indicated there's an aftermath of one of the really long sessions we had, like one-on-one sessions with Dr. Yot, who at the time really made sure that, because he's very busy, so whenever he was in Thailand, he would dedicate some time to have like one-on-one sessions with us interns and give feedback on our work. So we've had like sessions with him, and we'd be revising the model and then presenting results the following day. So it was, I'd say, very intense, but also very meaningful, and we really learned a lot, especially in the technical aspects of conducting economic evaluation. So at that time, I was interested in the dialysis topic. So he gave really specific advice on how we can improve on our work and how to make it relevant for policymaking, but also something that is publishable potentially later on in an international journal. And then the third photo, this is actually another highlight of our internship at HTAp, was that we got to observe a lot of the important meetings that were happening in Thailand itself and the ones that are organized by HTAp. So this photo on the right. So the one here was a drug advisory committee meeting, which is really cool because we saw how the committee members evaluated one of the HTAs done by a hospital. It was all in Thai, but we did get translations, and it was really interesting for us to see how they would appraise the HTAs done by other institutions. And then the photo to the right is from a meeting that was hosted by HTAp, and I think it was in collaboration with the WHO. And it's very often that there would be international delegates coming to Thailand to learn about the Thai health system or attend meetings hosted by HTAp, who has a very good network of collaborators, other researchers, other experts in the field, whom they get to work with a lot in various projects, and not just in the region, but I think also globally now. So one of the outputs from the internship was obviously the study itself, but at the end of, or I think the goal during my time in Thailand was to develop an economic model, and then later on we put placeholder values first, and then later on we would populate this and fill this in with primary data that we would collect ourselves with my team back home in the Philippines. So we ran our own EQ5D 5L surveys with our own costing studies. And then what I really appreciated was that the support didn't really end after I left Thailand. So after the interns left Thailand, we would still be in touch with our mentors from HTAP, and they would still help us see through the study until the very end. And I think this is also because we managed to find additional support for us to keep on working with HTAP at this time. And as a result, we did get to present our study in a local conference hosted by the Department of Health and an international conference. Prior to HTAsiaLink in 2019, which was in Seoul, before flying to Seoul, we spent some time at HTAP in Thailand first. We really crammed the study, and it's only then that we fine-tune the results and generate the visualizations, additional charts, and prepare for the presentation at HTAsiaLink. So I was very fortunate that I was even awarded this Best in Oral Presentation. So this is me receiving the award from Professor Tony. But I think it was really, a team effort for my team back in the Philippines, and obviously the team at HTAP who helped us. We did mock presentations, which we really appreciated. It was good that the support didn't really end at the after we left Thailand. So just also to highlight that after all the conference presentations, we did get to publish our study eventually in an international journal for nephrology. And you will see that with our collaborators from HTAP, they're part of the co-authors of our publication, as well as some of the nephrologists we worked with to collect the data and run the surveys in their hospital. And apart from that, I guess one of the most important outputs from this endeavor is that we also got to disseminate our results to a very large stakeholder group back in the Philippines. So the photo below is from our dissemination event, which had clinicians, patient advocates, other researchers, and I guess most importantly, the policymakers, so PhilHealth and DOH representatives, and some HTAP staff also came to help us run this workshop and run this event. And it really helps that for the policymakers to see that we got this kind of support, and they can be reassured that what we did is actually very rigorous and of good quality research. And I guess one of the other highlights, or one of the key takeaways that I had from doing this internship program is it was when I realized that I really enjoy research, and I really want to further develop my skills in this field, which is why I was really inspired during my time there and while working on this study to pursue further training. And I'm currently in my final year of PhD now, so hopefully also graduating soon. So I guess just to end by sharing some messages for future interns and host organizations. So for future interns first, it's very good to have clear learning objectives, so what you wish to achieve out of the internship, and be able to communicate that with the host organization, I think is very important, because there has to be some alignment of goals there, otherwise it might not be a very productive program or time spent by both parties. And then the second thing is it's very important to keep an open mind and be willing to learn from other perspectives, especially if it's an international program, or you'll have to be stationed somewhere else that in an environment that you might not be comfortable with at the start. So just keep an open mind, be willing to learn from other people, other perspectives. Like I said, in HTAP, there's a very diverse team there, lots of perspectives, different experiences, different backgrounds as well. So it would be good to be immersed in that kind of environment. It's also very nurturing, and you will really get to learn a lot in this way. So yeah, my last point is, just seize every opportunity. So if you're just looking for internship programs now, then, just go do it, just go apply. And then once you're out there in a program, just, attend as much talks you want, go meet other people, make sure you network. So just, sit in a corner and do your work, but really try to, engage and learn from other people. And then for the host organizations, I guess this is one of the things that are often overlooked, but I think they're very practical and very important, which was one of the key decisions why I went on this internship program, was that there wasn't that many barriers for me to join. So if I remember correctly, accommodation was provided by HTAi, but there was I would still be receiving my salary from the Department of Health, which really helped me, with my living expenses while in Thailand. But I guess in general, if we're talking about capacity building in the region, especially if it's coming from, a higher income country hosting people from a lower middle income country, it's really best, to lessen the barriers to accessing this, because that's always been an issue for us, right? We might not be able to have a chance to attend if it would, result to us having to, pay a lot out of pocket from this. So something as simple as workstation, even, I think it's very important to us. And then the second thing is the staff who would be there to support and provide guidance to the interns, I think is very, very important. So it's not enough to just, provide all the, the practical things. It's also enough people who would be there so that the interns won't feel lost or invisible while they're there. Yeah, so I think that's also a key consideration. And then I guess the last point is, one of the key things that I really liked was I had co-interns when I was at HTAi. So Evelyn on the far left, and then Jacqueline. So this is me, and then Jacqueline to my right. They were also interns at the time in HTAi. So at least I wasn't alone. We were going through, all of these challenges together, which I think was really beneficial for all of us too. And I guess from the host organization side, it's a lot easier with the maybe logistics and in terms of giving orientations and things like that. So I think that's all for my sharing for today. I'm sorry I can't attend any Q&A or questions from me, but you can always reach out to my email. So thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you, Dana. I think very interesting experience gained from her internship at HTAi. Okay, so let us hear from the host agency. We have with us today Mr. Ying Li Chen, Tommy, who is Senior HTAi Researcher in HTAi Division, Center for Drug Evaluation, Taiwan. Tommy joined CDE in August 2019, and he graduated with Masters of Health Science in Health Economics from Johns Hopkins University in 2015. He has experience in clinical pharmacy practice and clinical trials before joining CDE, and he's interested in health technology reassessment, patient involvement, and real-world evidence. He's been working in projects including drug HTAi, medical device HTAi, and health technology reassessment in the past few days. So, Tommy, let's welcome Tommy for the next presentation.
Hi everyone, and thank you, Dr. Isuna, for the introduction. Let me share my screen. So can everyone see my screen right now?
Yes,
Yes.
we can see your screen.
Thank you. So thank you, HTAi Asia Plus Forum and also HTAsiaLink for inviting me to this discussion, and I'm sharing my our program in CDHTA, and also I'm here to learn from your experiences. And before I start, I just want to make sure that the presentation is from my point of view, not necessarily the stance of CDHTA. So before go into the program, this is a brief introduction to CDE. So CDE is not not just the HTA agency. It actually includes different divisions from including regulatory affairs, pharmaceutical sciences, and NDA reviews, medical device reviews, and also other functions. So HTA division here is one of the division of CDE. And the internship program here applies to the whole center, not just the division of HTA. And the purpose here for the internship program, I will interpret it into 2 points. The first thing is that we all learn regulations and laws in schools. However, we don't really know how these regulations and laws are applied and how these new health technologies are being reviewed in regulatory department and HTA department. So through this internship program, the students or the participants can actually learn how the regulations are applied to the regular reviewing works. And the second point is that I would say CDE is kind of a backstage agency or organization. So we are not like the ministry or like FDA, where we are not on TV or news a lot. And even in the professional communities, we're not like very known by these professionals and students. So through the internship program, we introduce ourselves to the students, and maybe they will one day become our colleagues after they graduate. So that's the purpose of the program. And the process of the program is shown as the flow chart. And in every April, we are open to schools to submit their applications. So we don't accept individual applications, but only by schools. So the schools will provide a list of the students interested in our internship program, and they will also include the personal informations, the transcripts, and also the learning plans of these students. And then when we receive these applications, they will be reviewed by the directors of the divisions, and then the results will be announced by May 15th every year. And every division will take no more than two interns every year. It's based on our capacity of hosting these interns. We want them to have the best experiences here in CDE. So the program will be held in July and August. It will be a 6-week program, including 2 weeks of general introductions of the center and 4 weeks of the training sessions in assigned division. So next, I will go into the program of the HTA, but before that, this is the very brief process of how new drugs or medical devices are reviewed by in the HTA process in Taiwan. So when we receive these applications, the National Insurance Administration, they will pass the documents from the companies to us, HTA, and we will generate the HTA report for the NHIA. And the report will include clinical evaluation and economic evaluation sections. And then with the report, NHIA will hold these expert meetings. They will invite the clinical and economic experts to discuss preliminary recommendations to these new drugs and medical devices. And then the preliminary recommendations will be brought to the PBR's meeting where all stakeholders are gathered together every 2 months to come up with the final recommendations of these new drugs and medical devices, and the recommendations will be announced by the Ministry of Health and Welfare. So in the training program, the interns will have the chance to go through the whole process of the HTA in Taiwan. And so in the 4-week training program, the interns will start with the HTA introduction. They will get a chance to know how the division works and the general idea of HTA methodology. And then depends on their selections. They will either go to the clinical evaluation track or economic evaluation track. And in both track, the intern will have a chance to have a case study. They will have to generate a report by themselves with a supervisor, supervised from a senior HTA researcher. And also, the difference will be about the sections of the report and also the methodology. For the CE track, the interns will learn more about systematic reviews and meta-analysis. And in the EE track, they will learn more about cost effectiveness, cost utility, and budget impact analysis in their training program. And if their schedule meets the schedules of the expert meeting and PBR's meeting, they will also have the chance to join the meeting and see how these new drugs and medical devices are being reviewed and discussed in these official meetings. And then before they finish their program, they will have to have an oral presentation of the case study they have done, and also they will provide feedbacks to the internship program. And the one more thing is that because we have a very limited capacity in our internship program, and we're kind of there are like a lot of applications every year. So started last year in 2022. CDHTA worked with Task Force, Taiwan Society of Pharmacoeconomics and Outcome Research, for this HTA boot camp for the college and graduate students. So in this boot camp, we have designed the courses of drug development process and the introduction of national health insurance system and the introduction of HTAi and also HTA in Taiwan. And the most exciting part is that these students, they will be guided by our HTA researchers to have a case study of the drugs that are being reviewed before, and they will have to present the case in a PBR's meeting form, and these presentations will be criticized by the expert that actually participate in the PBR's meeting. So these experts will tell them how these drugs were actually being discussed in the meeting and what's the discussion points. So last year it was a 2-day camp in Taipei, and this year it will be held in Tainan for a 3-day section. And so we're trying to host interns in our center, but we also walk out our centers and introduce HTA to to students around Taiwan. And that's my presentation today, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Tommy, for highlighting us the opportunity for internship at CDE Taiwan. So we will open the question and answer at the end of all the presentations. You can also post questions in the chat as well. So for the next speaker, let me invite Pei Ming Wang from China National Health Development Research Center. So Pei Ming currently serves her internship at the China National Health Development Research Center. She graduated from the University of Queensland in 2021, where she earned a master's degree in health economics. Her passion for health economics led her to the healthcare industry, where she gained valuable experience working for a multinational medical device corporations. So during her time there, Pei Ming was mainly involved in building and implementing market access strategies to ensure the products receive appropriate reimbursement. So currently, Pei Ming joins the China National Health Development Research Center as an intern to pursue her research interests in health technology assessment and other related fields. So let us hear from Pei Ming Wang on her experience during internship at CNH RDC.
Thanks. Let me share my screen now. Yeah. Okay, can anybody see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks. So hi everyone, I'm Pei Ming Wang, and thanks for inviting me to be here. And it's a great honor for me to share my internship experience at today's meeting. So before I begin, I'm gonna give a brief introduction about myself. And I graduated from the University of Queensland in 2021, and with a master's degree in health economics. And then I entered a multinational medical devices company, and now I'm interning at the China National Health Development Research Center. So I guess some of our audience may not be very familiar with the center I'm working at right now. So I will also give a brief introduction about it. China National Health Development Research Center is basically a national research institution affiliated to the National Health Commission of China. So actually, we basically serve as a think tank for providing professional advice to various stakeholders in the Chinese healthcare system. And based on that, we usually focus on conducting research and providing consultations on national health reform and development strategies, and health policy evaluation and health technology assessment and other related fields. So here's the overview of today's my presentation. And first, I will talk a little bit more about the reason why I choose to become an intern. And then I will move on to my experience as an intern and the lessons I learned from it. And then I will share a message with future interns. And in the end, there are some suggestions on setting up the internship programs. So, okay, let's start with this question: why become an intern? So, like I just mentioned, I had a full-time job after I graduated from University of Queensland, but I was actually feeling to do something different because during that time, I just mainly involved in building and implementing market access strategies to make sure the product receive appropriate reimbursement. But actually, I'm not really interested in market. And so there's also another experience that reminded me of my real interest that mainly focus on evaluating the health policies. So that basically during my master degree study. So I have to say improving the health policies really give me a sense of accomplishment. So after a serious consideration, I left that job and finally decided to follow my real interest. So in the next part, I will share a little bit more about my internship experience. Basically, every member in our center will participate in various research projects, from like health technology assessment to health policy analysis. And then our mentor will also offer us like regular training sessions to improve our academic skills. And that really give us a like comprehensive understanding of HTAi. So based on that, I could be more like specific about my daily work. So my daily work basically includes two parts. And the first one is research supporting. Like we usually collect and review literature, analyze data, and drafting reports. And the second one is like some administrative tasks, such as scheduling and supporting meetings. And I think it's actually a valuable opportunity to access to some like up-to-date topics presentation from some like leading researchers in this field. So here's some lessons I learned from this internship. And the first one definitely is research skills, like how to effectively, independently design and conduct research, like some searching strategies, literature review, data collection, cleaning and analysis, and some findings presentation. And the second one I just want to say is that I realize the importance of teamwork and communication. You know, when the project was challenging and time is really limited, working closely could very be an efficient way of dealing with various challenges, like some follow-up meetings to make sure everyone on the same page. So in the third one, it's the capacity of task management. Actually, it is something I'm still learning right now. So my daily internships is like I have to face different topics research at one day. So I have to prioritize tasks based on their urgency and importance and break them into smaller ones. And so actually, I'm still struggling with it. So if you have more tips, please let me know. And as for my future plan, I have to say I'm really confident on pursuing the higher education in this field after I completed this internship. Okay, in the next part, I will share a message with future interns. So which is I also learned from my mentors. Be proactive. Yeah, as an intern, you may think that your responsibility are limited. You just came here to assist, but I really encourage you to like take ownership of your work and be really proactive in finding opportunities to learn and contribute. Because internships, I think it's a great time to learn and grow, because the more you put into it and the more you will get out of it. And for beginners like me, I think you can still make valuable contributions to the team by like taking on new challenges, supporting your team members, or just simply bring a positive attitude to the team. So don't be afraid and embrace the challenges, and finally you will learn and grow. Okay, in the last part, there are some suggestions on hosting interns. Like the first one is, please make sure the interns are given clear objectives so they could have a clear understanding of what they will be doing, like go through all the informations before a project starts, so let everyone know exactly what we will be doing. So, and there should be regular check-ins and feedback sessions to have interns to stay on the right track and make sure the project goes well. And the next one I just want to say is that providing as much opportunities as possible, like encourage them to attend training workshops or involve in academic conferences to let them establish their connection in this field. So that's basically all for my today's presentation, and thanks again for inviting me to be here, and I really appreciate that. For me as a beginner, I really hope today's presentation will be a little bit useful for us. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Piming, for sharing with us your experience in doing internship at the China CNH DRC. Okay, I can see that there's a common theme to have clear objective of internship by the interns as well as the host organization as well. So for the next session, let us welcome Julie Van Bevel, Vanessa Xavier, and William Patton to discuss, to hear the voice of industry interns and also the hosts. So Julie, next slide. So Julie Van Bevel is from Merck & Co. She has more than 20 years of healthcare evaluation experience in the pharmaceutical industry with related expertise in comparative effectiveness, HTA, health economics, outcome research, and policy research and analysis. She has held diverse roles at the country, regional, and also global levels, and has experience across numerous geographies, including Australia, US, Europe, and also Asia Pacific. Julie is particularly interested in conducting research to inform healthcare decision-making. Most recently, Julie was responsible for the design and creation of a health and budget impact tool for oncology and a multi-year collaborative research project on outcome-based risk-sharing agreement with United Healthcare in the US. Julie received her Master of Veterinary Science from Melbourne University and Masters in Public Health from Sydney University. And Vanessa, next. And Vanessa Xavier is from Sanofi. She's the head of market access for Sanofi Australia and New Zealand with almost 20 years experience developing and implementing successful reimbursement strategies which have helped to support affordable access for patients to a broad range of treatments. So a pharmacy graduate, she commenced her career in market access in the UK, where she completed her a master's in public health at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. She continued her career in Australia, where she completed a master's degree in economics at Macquarie University, Australia, and had the opportunity to undertake a secondment in Canada to learn more about access policies and processes in another country which has adopted health technology assessment to inform investment decisions related to healthcare interventions. At Sanofi, the aim is to improve people's life, and as the head of market access of Australia and New Zealand, Vanessa is committed to working collaboratively with government, healthcare professionals, and patients to support timely and affordable access to innovative medicines and vaccines for Australia and New Zealanders. So let us welcome Julie, Vanessa, and also William. William, you can introduce yourself as well. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Azuna, for the introduction. So, hi everyone, I'm Julie Van Bevel. I work at MSD, and the role that I have at our company, just to give you a little bit of background, is in a group called the Centre of Observational and Real World Evidence. So our team's support is responsible for supporting countries around the Asia Pacific region with observational studies and with their economic modelling and reimbursement needs. So today I really wanted I don't have any slides, I'm just going to talk. And I wanted to share some of our experiences having interns as a company to talk about, I guess, some of the higher level reflections that I've had over the last 3 years of hosting interns, talk a little bit about how we approach it and in a way to try and make it work. And that's really based also on not just my experience, but feedback from the interns over each of those 3 years. And then reflecting a little bit on what that's meant for those individuals' career journeys as well. So that's what I'll cover today before handing over to Vanessa and William as well. So for MSD, we have hosted over the last 3 years 2 different types of internship. One is a fairly short-term placement that final year pharmacy students do, where they spend 12 weeks with us. And the other one is a longer-term internship that runs over a year. And the year-long internship is where pharmacy students have finished their sort of formal training and they're in the process of doing their practical registration requirements, where they work at a hospital pharmacy and they spend half of their time that year at the hospital pharmacy conducting those activities and half of their time with us at MSD. And I guess, you know, at the very high level, It's an amazing experience to be able to host interns, and for any, companies or government organisations that are not doing that just now, I'd really encourage you to think about finding a way to host internships. It's been a fabulous experience for us. The interns add a lot of value to us. We love having young people come into the company. They bring different skills, different attitudes, different perspectives that I think is tremendously valuable, particularly IT skills. Someone of my age, we've been around for a long time. We're not that great on our computers, and so this is definitely a real skill that these younger sort of people can bring to the organisation. I think one of my other reflections is that we can give a lot more to these interns to do than I had initially anticipated. They're very resourceful, they're very motivated, and they're very happy to try new things. And I think, Peimang, you mentioned before, encouraging people to embrace new challenges. I've certainly experienced that the interns that we've had have been very, very happy to do that, not scared of trying things, open to feedback, and really a strong desire to take on projects and have ownership, which has been, wonderful to see. Some of the other things that I've learned over time that we need to do as a host to make it successful, given those things that I've just mentioned, is that the interns do take a lot of planning and organisation to make it work well. And I'll talk about some of the things that we do to support that in a moment. It's also really great and important to check in with them very frequently, once or twice a week, give them short-term deliverables and targets, see how they're tracking, and really set them off on a pathway, let them be independent, but also make sure that they're staying on track and that they're getting all of the help and support that they need when they run into roadblocks. So then to move on a little bit about how we've approached organising the work that the interns do and the experience that they have. Dana mentioned before the value of both structured and unstructured sort of lessons and times, and we take a similar approach here. So we think about the role that they play in 3 different ways. Are they shadowing someone, really just listening in and not being expected to contribute, but listening and learning? And that's particularly important at the start of the internship because so many things are new and it can be a little bit overwhelming, particularly for our interns that are spending time both at hospital pharmacies and also at MSD. So part of their time is spent shadowing. Part of their time is spent on projects where they're collaborating. They're adding value, they're giving input, but they're not ultimately responsible. And then finally, part of the time is also leading individual projects that they're responsible for. And they do really like to have ownership of some projects. And again, thinking about the different projects, we try to allocate them, some that are shorter term projects and some that are longer term, so that they can balance their time and activities across both of those depending on how busy they are across the different projects. The interns that come to us do have very good clinical knowledge, obviously, through their pharmacy degree. We find that they're really great with project management, they're very resourceful, and they're great networkers. But I guess what they don't have is sort of practical experience doing research studies or very little of it. They often have no experience in economic modelling. They haven't worked in big companies before. So we're trying to take a look at where their strengths are and where there are opportunities to grow and plan out, different projects over the year that can help build on the really good foundation that they have, but also give them as many experiences as possible so that at the end of the year, they've hopefully learnt a lot, technically about working in companies and have a much better idea as to where they might like to go in their career afterwards as a result. So as a team, before the interns come to us, we spend quite a bit of time thinking about what types of projects we'll be working on as a team and where we can allocate the interns to be a part of that. So we're thinking about giving them a broad experience across economic modelling, project management, running observational studies, hopefully some experiences with simple report writing or publications, and also preparing HTA submissions. And there's sort of a lot of different technical skills that I've mentioned that we try to give them experience with. We also talk to them about professional skills. You know, is there anything in particular that they'd like to focus on in this time? And I think a couple of the other interns mentioned this as well. You know, really focusing on things like communication or collaboration or teamwork. And then some of the other experiences we try to give them are not necessarily related to their job, but just understanding what it's like to be part of a big company. So a lot of them like networking with the other interns that we have internally from other functional areas. They also like getting involved in things like company newsletter writing and town halls and organising any of the sort of more social events that might happen across a year in a pharmaceutical company. And then when we allocate them a specific project, we try to give them, again, some of the sort of more structured training as well as sort of on-the-job learning. So we try and provide them with some background reading, maybe some academic papers, some internal trainings that might be available that they can watch, or YouTube videos, which they always love, and make sure we provide enough context about that particular project so that they understand not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it and how that project will be impactful overall. And we also try to give them experience working with different team members so that they get some sort of cross-therapeutic area experience and learn from the strengths of the different individuals in the team as well. So if I think then about what that means for an intern's career and the impact that it could have on them, I guess one of the great good things about working in a big company is that it does give them very broad insights. They can learn a lot about the different functional areas in a company and what those functional areas do. So they can learn about regulatory, they can learn about market access, our clinical trials organisation. So that does help them really have a very broad view of all of the different types of careers that could be ahead of them. And I think that's something when you're at university, it's very hard sometimes to understand, you know, what could I do with my degree? Where could I end up? So it's great to have that very sort of broad overview. It also really helps them understand that journey of taking a medicine right from clinical development through to being available for patients, and all of the different parts of the healthcare system and environment that have to work together in order for that to happen. So they get some little insights into, you know, the government and regulatory bodies' role. They obviously get a lot of insights into the industry role, and also other groups like patient organisations and scientific leaders. So I think that's another, you know, great thing for their career as well. And then finally, just working in a large organisation is something that's helpful for their career as well. Understanding things like organisational behaviour, teamwork, the roles and responsibilities that different people play, and the importance of having many people at the table, each bringing their own expertise and contributions to help move things forward. So looking at the interns that we've had at our company over a number of years, many of them have stayed in the company, and even if they've started in sort of scientific or sort of market access type of roles, they've moved into many different parts of the company. Some have moved into marketing, some have stayed in market access, and we've more recently had an intern from my team that moved into our clinical trials organisation. So definitely it does provide opportunities to progress your career, but also move forward in very many different ways. So I think I'll end there, but also just to go back to one of my very initial points is just to encourage people to host interns and, you know, really take that on as an opportunity that's really beneficial both for the host and for the intern as well. I'll hand over to Vanessa and Will.
Great, thank you so much, Julie, and thanks everyone. It's a real pleasure to be with you here today. Really great to follow on from some of the discussions that were had at the last conference regarding capacity building. And I think, hosting interns and supporting development and career paths in market access and health economics is a real passion of mine. And I think it's just so important for us overall because it's such an important area, and it's an area that really requires a lot more resource. So at Sanofi, I have to say we are quite new with regards to hosting interns and graduates. So there were intern programs and there were graduate programs, but they were mainly targeted at other business units or other areas like marketing, for example, or regulatory. I think when we started thinking about wanting to put our hand up for those programs, the first thing we thought about was something that a lot of people have already raised, which is, you need to be ready to host interns. I mean, you have to have an obligation as a host to make sure they have a good experience, because ultimately it's a bit of a trial for them. They may not know if in market access or health technology assessment is a career path that they want to take. And so, you want to give them, good experience in a supported environment for them to be able to make an informed decision. So a lot of what we did prior to even putting our hand up for those programs is making sure we had, really clear competency framework within our team. So it was clear at each level of the organization, what kind of skills and technical expertise you would require. And the idea was to build on that. So as we progress through the levels in the team, you build on your competency, not just in terms of your technical skills, but to some of the things that Julie mentioned. Working in a large organization, a lot of it has to do with managing relationships, internal relationships, brand team relationships, but then also relationships above country with global and region, and then relationships with your government or your payers, as well as other stakeholders, clinicians and healthcare professionals. So, those kinds of skills are not necessarily something that you're going to get straight out of university. So a big part of our competency framework is those softer skills as well. So to gradually introducing people to that corporate environment and, how to sort of, participate in brand teams and other forums. And I think it's a mix of what Julie said. So I think, you have a structured framework where you think about how to gradually introduce people to the types of technical skills that they require. And I know Dr. Azuna sort of mentioned this at the beginning. This area requires really broad set of skills, and you're not going to necessarily graduate with all of those. Everything from literature searching to epidemiology, statistics, economic modeling. There's not really a degree that does everything, and then you emerge from that fully formed. So really, the way that our team's structured is ultimately we need to do all of those things to some degree, and so it's how you gradually build that competency, starting from whatever people's backgrounds are. And in the team that I work in, it's a broad group of people. So some people are like myself, pharmacy graduates, and Will, who I'm going to introduce you to shortly, is also a graduate of pharmacy. And that's great from a therapeutic point of view and understanding, those elements, but then you need to supplement that obviously with the economic and financial skills. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have people that come to us as graduates from finance, for example, or who come as graduates from economics, and then they have to understand the clinical elements or how to synthesize data. So having that really, really structured competency framework, and getting people to assess them against it as well, because it's really useful for people to look at things and think, where do I sit in the spectrum of my understanding of these things? And that's what we tend to do. So we'll go through the competency framework and then ask them to assess themselves, and then obviously we'll observe what we think in terms of where they're at, and then we have a conversation about an aligned position on that and how we go forward. So at this stage, we have a combination of people in our team. So we actually have, for the first time this year, an intern, who's a French pharmacy student. And I think the big learning for us there was that, and Will can speak to this in terms of his experience, and I can also say as a graduate of pharmacy, I didn't know anything about working in industry, and I certainly didn't know anything about market access or health economics. Whereas, the learning that we've got from her is that it's really, really prominent career pathway, particularly for pharmacists in France. They're well aware of it, and it's something that they actively seek. So a lot of her peers back in France are so excited that she started this internship in Australia, and what a cool thing to do, I guess, as a young person, to come halfway across the world and work in an area and also work in a beautiful country too. So you know, another benefit maybe is the ability to travel as an intern. So it's been really great having her. We also have a graduate. So our graduate program, I think I mentioned previously, was mainly targeted at, you know, marketing roles or regulatory roles, not really market access. So what I had to do if I wanted to participate in that program was just be a bit more clear about the types of backgrounds that we would be looking for, because obviously I think although it's not impossible, if people don't at least have some footing, at least in the clinical elements of what we do or the economic elements or financial elements, it could be quite difficult for them to take that first step through. And it's not to say it's impossible, but I guess our preference for graduates was to look at people that were either coming from life sciences or coming from you know, economics or those kinds of areas where at least they have some foundation we can draw on, and then we can build and round out. And then I guess that brings me to Will. So Will is the latest member to our team, and I have to say, when we were interviewing for the role, what really stood out for us is Will had completed an internship, and it really made him stand out from other candidates, because it meant that he had a good understanding about what we do and some, you know, entry-level skills for the broad suite of things that we require in this field. So I think, you know, for those of you that are looking to move into this space from an organization, seeing someone that's had an internship, it's a way to stand out amongst other graduates, particularly in this area. And, you know, I think what other people have said about what we get out of this relationship is, you know, the team loves having Will around. He's so proactive, and he definitely brings a lot of insight, and he's always up for a challenge. So whatever we put in Will's direction, he does it with, you know, great skill and continues to build and learn. So that's why I invited him here today, because it's, I guess, one thing for me to speak about our approach to having interns and graduates and the benefits that it delivers to us as the organization. And we take really seriously our responsibility to make sure they have a great environment to learn and to understand what it's like to work in this area. And to Julie's point, you know, they may decide to stay in this field, they may decide to go into other areas in the organization, or they may decide to practice this skill in other areas of academia, or you know, for example, they may decide to go over to government. So I think it just gives people an opportunity to put their foot in the water and see if they like it. And thankfully Will liked it. So I'll hand over to Will to speak more directly about, you know, I guess how the role of being an intern has helped him in his career journey. And just over to you, Will. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thanks, Vanessa. Thank you. So with the time left, I wanted to outline my experience as a health econ and pharmacy intern in Australia, and time permitting, give some advice from a former intern. So as Vanessa mentioned, I had previously completed an internship, and that internship was actually the internship that Julie was mentioning previously, the 50-50 split at MSD and also at hospital. I think I was a year before Julie came on as the organizer of the intern program. So about me, as I said, I studied pharmacy at the University of Sydney. I graduated in 2019. Towards the end of my degree, the university staff were reasonably proactive in emphasizing the broad range of careers that are available to pharmacy grads. And they had a few partnerships with the pharmaceutical industry and other stakeholders in the healthcare system. So through the university, I applied and was later successful for a year-long internship split across the two sites. So 50% of my time was spent in Merck Sharp & Dohme's Market Access and Health Economics department, and the other 50% of my time was spent at a pharmacy department in the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, which is one of Sydney's largest hospitals. So as Julie sort of touched on, a bit of background context, in Australia, pharmacists, nurses and doctors have to complete a year-long internship in their chosen discipline before their registration is finalised. MSD wanted pharmacy grads and were therefore willing to be flexible with the structure of their internship to fulfil this requirement that we had to complete a set number of clinical hours. So that brings me to my intern year. I started in 2020. So on the market access side of things, as both Julie and Vanessa have touched on, the interns generally come in knowing not much about the role of pharmaceutical companies in Australia and have sort of very limited I at least had very limited understanding about how a pharmaceutical company would communicate the value of their products, the process of HTAi, and how funding decisions are made in practice, aside from potentially one lecture on ISAs at university. So it was very much a steep learning curve when I first started in the access department. I worked on a couple of different HTAi submissions, and the specific components that I was participated in included the writing up of the clinical rationale, modelling the costs of the healthcare intervention, and writing up the results of the clinical trial. So essentially the bread and butter of the dossiers that we have to submit. But importantly, I feel like the tasks that were assigned to me were very achievable tasks for an intern to complete with that oversight from my manager at the time. So when I was at the hospital, I did a lot of ward rotations, and it actually felt as though the two sites complemented each other quite nicely, and gave quite a broad view of the healthcare system in Australia. So for instance, one week you'd be working on a HTAi submission where the standard of care would be chemotherapy, and then the next week you'd be in the hospital looking after a patient who had come in, had been admitted with chemotherapy-related adverse events. And importantly, I felt as though I was getting sort of a front row seat to see how important it was that patients in Australia had access to the medicines that they needed when they needed at a price that they could afford. I also saw how other stakeholders, so patients, doctors, nurses, all interacted with the healthcare system, which I thought was a very valuable experience. So post my intern year in 2021, I moved across to Sanofi and have been happily working here since as a market access associate. I've been involved in a number of HTAi submissions and pricing projects, and I'm really loving the work that I'm doing here. I guess sort of the goals that I have for the future, or the dreaded "where do you see yourself in 5 years' time" question. Given I don't really have that formal training in health economics from a university, and because I entered via an internship, for me, the goal for the foreseeable future is to really hone in on those technical competencies and really learn the tools of the trade of health economics. As Vanessa sort of touched on at the previous HTAi meeting, she spoke about our team's competency framework tool that we use. So my goal really is to progress from having a foundational understanding to more of an intermediate or advanced understanding of the various domains in that competency framework. And I guess really just to sum up very briefly, I think I'm a pretty good case study about how an internship can sort of shape a graduate's career. So I really did fall into the industry knowing not much about health economics, but now having gained that firsthand practical experience through the intern year, I don't think I would leave the field. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Julie, Vanessa, and William. Can hear that two very happy and satisfying hosts for HTA, and William actually proved that the internship program actually benefits him. Yeah, at least if not all the internship. Yeah, so we can hear that. I think from what we have heard, that internship not only benefits the interns, but also the host organization too. Yeah. So maybe we still have some time. I will open for question and answer.
I'm not sure if everyone's questions in the chat got answered. I know Sadami was very busy answering questions.
Yeah.
I guess perhaps I could just say that I wondered if perhaps the industry could answer this. The comment that was made by some of the earlier presentations was the idea that we would, they worked well if there was more than one intern. There was a couple, two, or I guess even more. With your industry placements, is there more than one, or are they all by themselves?
Guy, I'm happy to go first and talk about MSD. So my team, I only have one. The market access team in Australia generally has 2. They've had up to 4 in 1 year. But across the company, we also have interns in IT, in global clinical trials, and in marketing. So, you know, they're probably, I'm guessing at any one point in time, there'd be up to 10 interns in the company each year. And so we do actually try and connect them together. They do onboarding together. They work on things like the, you know, company newsletters together, informal sort of networking. And they do love that interaction and do, you know, tend to form a nice tight little group between them to share experiences. And also I've found our intern has really relied on her other interns to network across into other functional areas and really problem solve. And that's why, you know, they've been just so resourceful to have them there at the one time. So yeah, I think it's very beneficial to have more than one.
Yeah, I mean, guess to follow on from Julie, the challenge that we have in Access is we're not a massive team, and you want to make sure that you've got enough capacity to support the intern properly. So I think that's been our challenge. We've only ever had, well, we've got 1 intern and 1 graduate at the moment, and that's because we finally have capacity for someone to actually manage them full time. And then obviously it takes a village, to be honest. Like everybody in the team has something to do with the interns and share their skills and experience. And Will as well now, you know, as he's sort of progressing through the ranks and learning more, he's been a great support for the interns. And he recently helped me do a budget impact session to train them on how to do budget impact models, because that's something that has become really, really adept at. So I think that's the challenge for us. I mean, we'd love to have more, but it's got to be the flip side of that is they have to have support, sufficient support. But to Julie's point, we connect them in particularly to the other interns in the organization that are working in other departments. And it's interesting, right? Because most of those guys have not heard about market access or health economics. So it's sort of useful to spread the word beyond our team too.
Yeah, may I ask, the internship at industries, is it advertised to public, or is only for the universities that has MOU with the industry?
Yeah, it's only with the universities because it's done as their as part of that sort of registration requirement, and in order for them to qualify and be a sort of fully fledged pharmacy. So that's why it's done in very tight collaboration, not just with the universities, but also with the training hospitals as well. So we have a contact at one hospital in Sydney who, when we've had, you know, the need for more than sort of 1 placement student, the hospital pharmacies have then sort of found other spots in different hospitals around Sydney that would also like to host these interns as well. So it's quite a tight collaboration, and it's advertised both, I guess, through the hospitals, but also mainly through the universities.
So I think it's the same for us, except I guess for our intern from France, she spontaneously reached out to us. So I think we're open to that as well. We have our standard programs where we partner with particular universities. But, you know, again, I think, you know, some of the other interns made the point about being proactive. Sometimes you'd be surprised where you can get if you just ask. So, you know, we had a out of the blue request from this French pharmacy student, and it was a bit more challenging because obviously it was outside our normal program, but we were committed to make it happen, and we did. So I think, you know, if you're interested and you ask, I think people will try to find a way forward to support you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the response. There's quite a number of questions for HTAi actually. Maybe I would like to invite Saudamini to actually answer some of the questions and maybe give more information in terms of internship at HTAi. Sorry, it's impromptu. And we cannot hear you, Saudamini.
Hello, Dr. Izuna and colleagues as well. Thank you for this really nice session and to learn about experiences from across the Asian region, both from other HTA agencies and also from industry partners as well. At HTAP, just briefly, we do have, do host interns on a regular basis, but there is no formal program at the moment. So it is based on alignment of mutual interests between interns or institutions that we partner with, including universities, both in Thailand and also in other countries. So we would very much encourage you to reach out to us. I left an email and look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you. Back to you, Dr. Izuna.
Thank you, Saudamini. So maybe we can, maybe can I ask everybody to actually on your video so that we can take a photo and before we go to the closing.
While we're getting everyone onto a single screen, can I just briefly say thank you so much for sharing this, Izuna. As always, you've done it beautifully. But also, I really did want to thank Ryan and Linda for putting this all together. You know, it all seems to run so smoothly, except for my background. But actually, there's a lot of work that goes into making this come together. So thank you to both of those in particular, as well as others. So I think it's been a great success. We plan to do these type of activities in the future, but with Adelaide coming up and then our meeting in Taiwan, it'll probably be about February next year that we'll do the next one, whatever that is. So thank you very much. But if you're going to try and put us all in one big photograph, good luck with that. I don't know how that works.
Thank you, guys. So,
but that was good. Thank you.
okay, we already get the photo. Is it, Linda?
Yep. Taken it.
Thank you, thank you. So thank you everyone for attending and participating in this panel discussion. I think there's lots of things that we can learn from this panel discussion in terms of hosting and also doing the internship. One thing is very clear, the interns and also the host must be clear in terms of the objective of the internship. And I think the interns need support as well at the host organization. So it's good that the host organization or other bodies can help in terms of to support the interns at the at their host, yeah, especially if the interns come from the it's not supported by their agencies, or the agencies is not able to support the interns, as we know that some of countries in this region comes from the lower middle income countries, and there are opportunities. Maybe not all agencies able to actually share their experience today, but I believe that many other agencies are willing actually to accept internship as well. Okay, with that, I thank you and see you all in maybe in Adelaide or in other conference or seminar. Thank you very much.